Hey guys, welcome back to another album review. I haven't done a review in a while. This album by Bring Me the Horizon, a metalcore turned rock band, came out, and this is an album that I was so highly anticipating. They've released That's the Spirit in 2015, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. No album sounds like the last. So I did expect this to be different from That's the Spirit, and it is in a lot of ways. And the lyrics were written after Ollie Sykes got a divorce, so that kind of makes the perspectives a little bit different. So diving into this 13-track album, with track 1 we have an intro called I Apologize If You Feel Something. It begins with very weird vocal samples. It's interesting because there are strings and electronics laced throughout this intro. I did not like this song whatsoever on first listen, but as I listened to it a little bit more, I found some cool little elements in it. It definitely has some unique parts to it, so it gets a lot of creativity points from me. Moving on to track 2, we have Mantra. I find it interesting where this is in the track listing, especially because the intro does not fade into Mantra whatsoever. However, talking about Mantra now, this is the lead single from the album. It happens to be one of the catchiest, most rock-centered songs on Ammo. It's interesting because the production being pretty fuzzy and the electric guitars being very compressed, it definitely had to grow on me, but now I can confidently say after a couple months of getting used to this song, this is very well composed. The melodies are quite amazing, and there are little moments in the song that really work, like Ollie Sykes screaming at the end of the second chorus, or back in the first chorus, the swell and the build-up that comes right before it, the choir vocals that come later. It's just a bunch of things that make this song really memorable. Track 3, Nihilist Blues, featuring pop singer Grimes. I still can't figure out what that voice is in the beginning of the verses. It does not sound like Ollie whatsoever, but if it is Grimes, it's very pitched down because it sounds like a man singing. There's just a lot going on in this song. I had heard a few songs from Grimes in the past. I was curious to see what this kind of unique combination would entail for this song, and I can definitely hear her influence here because this is a synth pop kind of a song. It's actually described by Jordan Fish, who is the keyboardist from Bring Me the Horizon. He described it as a dark rave song, which I definitely hear that in places. It's definitely got some 80s elements to it in the synths. There's Grimes doing this weird whispery kind of a thing, and then there's her usual delicate kind of delivery that makes this song a bit smoother. For some reason, I've been coming back to this song probably the most off of the entire album, even though this is not my favorite on the album whatsoever, and I'm not exactly sure why that is, so props to this song for clicking so well for me because I can't completely pinpoint why. Track 4, In the Dark. After the heights that Mantra and Nihilist Blues reached, I was very let down by this. This song tends to resemble Not Today by 21 Pilots, or just Blurry Face era 21 Pilots in general in the verses, but the rest of the song falls flat in every single way possible. The vocal sample in the hook is boring. It does not click with me. There are catchy melodies in this song when Ollie starts to sing more, but that doesn't really happen until the last half of the song, and this song just features the least remarkable lyrics on the entire album. It's a real shame that the few good elements in this song can't really save it, because it might be my least favorite full-length song on the album. We'll get into how I feel about the interludes that appear on here. What do I say about Wonderful Life? This was the second single released, and I find it interesting that it's here in the track listing and not further down, because there is a bit of a general shift from poppier songs to rockier songs as Ammo goes on. Getting into the song itself, I was interested to see Danny Filth being featured here. I am not much of a black metal fan. I did not recognize his name on here, but it's interesting. He has this feature in the bridge where he does these raspy spoken type vocal things, and it's kind of interesting. It adds some things to the track, and it's very weird sounding, especially the most memorable moment being Everybody Knows I Got Bounce, cause like what the hell is that? But the other thing that makes this song really unique is Ollie Sykes' vocals. He sounds so invested and into it, like especially in that chorus when he hits some of the higher notes, and it's one of the better parts on the album. And the riffs, especially that main riff, could use a little bit more refinement, like near the end of the song when there's more pauses in between the main riff. the riff just kind of dies out a little bit, and I don't know, I just feel like there could have been a little bit more to it, maybe a little more layering or something. But overall, I like the idea there. I like the heaviness of the riff. It's not one of my absolute favorites because the lyrics are so weird that I cannot fully get into it, but it does have a lot of really good moments to it, and it's very unique. With track 6, we get the first interlude called Ouch, and I don't even know where to start with this one. I was intrigued to hear that there were going to be interludes on this album. It's not something Bring Me the Horizon ever does. The last time I remember it was on Suicide Season with this song beginning. We get some kind of glitchy, messy electronic production mixed with some old-fashioned elements like an old piano sound. And it's kind of interesting, but what absolutely murders this song is the abysmal lyrics. The little annoying vocal sample thing that's singing in this song that references Follow You from That's the Spirit is a very special song, one of my favorite songs Bring Me the Horizon has ever done. It's never gonna leave my top 5, and this absolutely butchers the cute qualities the song has. Follow You is just special and I don't want it to be messed with. Like, I hope that makes sense, but that really left me with a bad taste in my mouth. I read up on Genius later about the context of those lyrics and the situation, and I am glad Ollie has found someone better since then, because there is a song dedicated to that person later on the album, which is kind of cool. And yeah, on a personal level, I'm glad he's found his happiness now, and I feel bad he went through what he went through. On a musical and lyrical level, however, this falls flat on its face. The bitter narrative is not working, not well executed, so I'm sorry for ranting for ages about a little interlude, but I just had to. I had to get it out. And with that, we go into track 7, which is Medicine. This song picks up right where Ouch left off. This had me a bit worried for Ammo because I wasn't a fan of this song. And I know that a lot of people were divided on this because it is pop, basically, which, I mean, they've done pop before. I don't really see the big deal about that. I find the problem to be how uninspired the pop elements are in this song, because the smoothed over canned pop production does not do the song any favors. The simile that is presented with the lines, some people are a lot like clouds, you know, it's not passable, it's not a passable line. It's a interesting little sentiment, but I don't know. Ollie Sykes' vocal performance is not one of my favorites from his, especially because in the chorus he gets a little bit whiny. It's not the worst thing ever, it's not like absolutely terrible, and it is better than In the Dark. So in track 8 we have Sugar Honey Ice and Tea. This is where Ammo shifts a bit from the pop tones to the electronic rock that is more rough around the edges and more glitchy, and coincidentally, this is where I start to enjoy the album a bit more. This song is nihilistic, it is angry, but it's more vague. It is communicated in a pretty charming way that has a lot of charisma. One thing that's interesting about this song is the high falsetto in the chorus. I didn't really care for that first couple listens, I thought it was a bit grating. But now I honestly cannot even imagine the song without it. It's interesting because of that fiery intensity that Ollie shows, especially throughout the song, is what makes it really good. You could just tell by listening to him that he is just spilling his guts out and screaming his lungs out, which he does in this bridge here. And it's pretty nice. It might be a little much because of how squeaky he gets during some of the screams, but overall it was a good decision. Track 9. Why You Gotta Kick Me When I'm Down, which, what a title, first of all. The similarities this song shares with the track before is pretty uncanny, but even though they're both energetic songs, this has an incredibly dark, creepy subtlety to it in the verses that I just treasure so much. I love how it builds up to the choruses. And the vocal phrasing in the song, it's very quick, it just kind of fires right at you. It did remind me of a certain song from a couple years ago, Temple by Tonight Alive. I was a fan of that song, but I did think it was pretty overproduced. So this song I think is a better version of Temple. I would say this is more electronic than rock, yet it feels like the heaviest song on the album next to Wonderful Life because of the way that everybody is playing and how passionate it is. And there's so many layers, there's like a horn section, there's strings that come in, and there's just a lot going on. Ollie is just on fire here. Don't you know I'm a seed? I won't stop at the roof. Go ahead, bury me. This is how I grow. This is how I thrive. I love that. This song is kind of talking to fans who got a little too personal with Ollie during his divorce. And so, with all of that, this is without a doubt my favorite song on Ammo, and the only song from here that has any chance at cracking my top 10. And this, I would guess, would probably land around number 7 right now. Track 10, Fresh Bruises. Why You Gotta Kick Me When I'm Down redeemed a lot of points that I took away from Ammo with ouch happening. But now we have another interlude that is honestly the least interesting thing on the entire album. There's some synths going on. There's this incoherent edited voice going, "Don't you try to with me," and it's so annoying. It's just 3 minutes of nothingness, topped off with obnoxious vocals. Going on to track 11, which is Mother Tongue. I find this quite the perfectly written love ballad when it comes to any sort of pop rock music. It's definitely got some great elements to it. For example, the cute little string section in the second verse, Ollie Sykes' passionate belting in the chorus. He just sounds so invested and believable in every way. And the absolutely adorable lyrics. I almost kind of was afraid that after some of the songs on here that Bring Me the Horizon wouldn't have the capability to write a song like this again, but I was wrong. They still got it. They still got that element to them, and I'm really happy about that, and I really appreciate that. Track 12, Heavy Metal. I was curious about the title of this song, and it turns out that this song is Ollie Sykes calling out the picky fans who fell off with Bring Me the Horizon long ago, back when they switched from metalcore to more pop rock. And the beatboxer that Bring Me the Horizon featured, who Razel, I cannot pronounce his name, I don't know. Never heard of him. It's interesting because he does add some uniqueness to the song, especially in the bridge. But yeah, this song is not terrible at all, but the guitar riffs in the chorus are just kind of there. It's kind of one of the few songs that's actually middle of the road. I do want to shout out the last 5 seconds of the song where there's like a little tiny snippet of a metalcore breakdown. It does have some cool little quirks to it. Track 13, I Don't Know What to Say. The strings that open up the closing track sound really good. They sound natural. They have so much life to them, so much presence. The large role that they play throughout the entirety of the 6-minute track is something I appreciate a lot. Ollie Sykes dedicated this song to a friend of his who had died from cancer, and how if he were to have visited his friend, he wouldn't have known what to say. And that sentiment is something I think a lot of people can relate to, and I think this is a really great song. Ollie reaches this really nice climax for a second, and then there's this guitar solo, and it's not the most remarkable solo in the world necessarily, but it adds a lot there. It fit perfectly in the structure of the song, and it adds to the mood of it, so I am a fan of it. It's almost as good as Oh No from That's the Spirit, and that's really saying something. It's like almost on that tier. Even though the songs are nothing alike, I'm just saying that they're almost at the same level of being great. So, my overall thoughts. This album is an emotional roller coaster. It annoys me to have to give this album a middle of the road score because that's not how this album was for me. That doesn't highlight the experience I had listening to this. I am glad we got some strong songs, even though we got some weak songs, and we got one of the best songs in their career, Why You Gotta Kick Me When I'm Down. I really did love that one. I believe they can do better, because they have before many times, and we all know that every single Bring Me the Horizon project is different from the last. I am struggling between giving it 2 scores. I'll put the actual score right here, right now. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this album review. Let me know what you thought of this album and your favorites and least favorite songs from this album in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.